on various industries, in retail, in particular oil and media and various areas. It's like I have been a technical expert. I'm still working as a technical expert in one of the major firms. And I have experience in conducting various corporate trainings. I have been part of it already, and I mean, I have been training various vendors, have alliance with them. So it's my privilege to be here with you guys and I'm giving an overview of SAP as a demo today. And so before I start, can we have an introduction of Jishnu and Kumar?
Yeah, sure. I'm Kumar. I have been in IT from the past 7 years, and I have been working as a Cognos developer, and I moved to manual testing, data warehouse testing, and currently I'm doing automation testing on a CBL application.
Okay, that's great. So you're from IT background, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, this is Jishnu. I have been working for past 8 years in testing, like for automation testing mainly.
Okay.
Yeah, for the past 8 years. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Is that an HPQC or
QTP and test partner, quick test professional.
Right. Cool. So I
like
think
yeah.
Right. That's great. So people who are already on testing, so SAP has a lot of functionality which we can directly integrate with testing. So your testing skills are never into vain once you learn SAP ABAP or SAP. You can always integrate your SAP, whatever the programs we do, whatever the applications we develop. If you want to measure the performance, we can always get connected to HPQC, or we can get connected to load runner. I think you guys already know that. So you just connect with that and then measure the application performance and fine-tune the application and run your test scripts. So there are a lot of functionalities nowadays SAP has launched in to integrate with your automated testing tools. So I'm not going to emphasize more. I'm just telling you based on your skill set. Yes, still it's always an advantage even after learning SAP here. So so to begin with our demo, I don't want to go much into a technical side where in the first day you get confused all over and you don't know where you're heading to. So let me begin with the simple things like, people might be knowing this, might not be knowing this. So you can always just stop me and ask me questions whenever you wanted to or all through the class. So to begin with, the first one, we are starting with overview of SAP. So what exactly, I think we have slides in here. Okay, so to begin with SAP, first, we should know what is ERP. I think everyone knows ERP.
Yeah, we know just the full form of ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning.
Yeah.
Okay, it's always good not to know anything, you're like a blank slate, so which is very easy for you to remember, understand, and practice. So ERP, of course, it stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. So what the name itself suggests that if you have an enterprise, you will have resources and you want to plan them accordingly to be on the benefit path, not on the losing path. So every organization is therefore striving for excellence and wanted to win and get profited, right? If Kumar or Jishnu has a separate organization or separate business, so definitely you people wanted to earn something. You definitely wanted to be profitable and be a top, to become a top organization or business in the current industry, whatever you stepped in. So Enterprise Resource Planning is a software which is used by most of the enterprises. When I say enterprises, it can be a small scale, large scale, and medium scale, any scale. So irrespective of the enterprise, you need a software where you can plan everything all together and make your organization the best what it can do in that particular industry. So the same thing I'm focusing here in the slide. If you see, ERP software integrates all facets of an operation, including development, manufacturing, sales, and marketing. So, which means like, you know, your software that will definitely focus on all these aspects. Whatever you develop, manufacture, when you sell, and you market, everything it covers your software. All these areas, it has to be a part of it. And also finance, which is also the most important part. So depending on your organization size and needs, you know, there are a number of ERP softwares in the market right now, various ERP vendors who create the softwares and sell to different organizations. So for example, Kumar started some other business, you know, some metal industry business, and Jishnu started some other business. Probably it can be some retail industry business. So they both have a different size. Metal industry has size different and retail industry size is different. So if they are in need of a software, ERP, then they have a different requirements. They have a different, the size of the business. So they may go for a different ERP software. In the same way, people who have an enterprise, they decide based on the size of their enterprise. So if we see broadly categorized into three sizes, as I said, large, mid, small. Mid is also called medium. So if you see the tier 1 ERP vendors, you know already there, it's SAP, Oracle, and Microsoft. People here wondered about Microsoft. Microsoft also has their own ERP, which is launched in, and they also have customers who are using them. Okay, so if you go to mid-market ERPs, we have a different market ERPs. Probably I'm not sure how many of these names are familiar. We have lots of Curve, Sage, Sage, and IFS. So this is a mid-market tier 2 ERPs. If you're a small tier 3, like people who are beginners in the enterprise, they also use ERPs, something like Exact Globe, Syspro, Activent. These are the different various ERP vendors. So if you see the major player in the enterprise ERPs, the large enterprise ERPs is SAP. So which means like, you know, what is SAP? So SAP is also an ERP. So ERP is like a big superset, and your SAP is going to be a part of it. So any questions on ERP before we move ahead? I mean, on this slide.
No, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, thanks. So, and I'll also tell you here in this slide, I mentioned SAP as a large enterprise ERP, right? So which means people or enterprises are big organizations. For example, Nike, Reebok, all these apparels who are very huge in size, we feel like they only live in SAP. No, it's not. It's a myth. SAP has come with various products within ERP. SAP has created so many ERP softwares, each suiting for individual businesses. For example, for small businesses like, you know, for example, Excite batteries. But it's a small compared to, you know, Nike or Reebok compared to the volumes. So even that is a small company. I mean, a medium scale company, you can say, like, even they have a separate ERP software suiting their needs. So I will cover that in detail later on, but I don't want to confuse with giving you a lot of SAP solutions. What are we have on hand? Okay, just what are the questions you have? Just keep on asking. Do not hesitate. It may be a silly. It may be maybe an expert question. Don't think about the question and it as a silly or something as an expert question. Always feel free to ask questions. Okay, let's go into the example of an ERP. So as I said, for example, take company A, who is a manufacturer of apparels. They wanted to implement the ERP because they wanted to centralize their operations. If you consider an example of an apparel like a Nike, they have various outlets throughout the world. Am I right? So they have in India, they have in Australia, they have in US, they have in UK, and within every country they have different cities. So they have a different offices, different branches, different distribution centers, a lot of things. So if you see, why they wanted to implement SAP ERP, because they wanted to centralize their operations. So So what are the different managements, for example? Like, you have a top-level management who wanted to have a report on the list of sales. Probably they are interested to decide what product they want to scrap it, what product they wanted to manufacture more and concentrate. For example, Reebok shoes or Nike shoes are getting sold out very faster compared to T-shirts. They have a different strategy to tackle that. So that's the top-level management where they make a decision making. Procurement department, for example, to consider the stock on hand. So to prepare anything, you need to know what is the stock on hand. Am I right? So you don't want to create anything. Suppose you already have 1 lakh T-shirts on hand, and you do not know that, and you simply again you manufacture another 1 lakh of T-shirts, which are not going for a big sale, which are not on a huge demand. So it's always a loss to the organization. So your procurement department should be aware of this. Sales department is also very important. They need to understand the demand from customers. They need to understand how many sales they are making up, how many sales, through what channels. All this information has to be tracked. And the most important for an organization is finance department, where they understand the sales, they create balance sheets, profit and loss, they create general ledgers, a lot of things on finance department. They need to do this. And asset department. This is one of the other department which is also important. You need to know what are your various factories, what are your various assets, like machineries, whatever the things you have on hand. Are they on lease? Are they getting retired? Are they out of lease? So all this information has to be taken care of. So I've just given an example. Sorry.
Sorry, Shashi. Just a quick one. Instead of discussing this, functional or ERP.
Right. Yeah, I'm going into the other part. So I'm just giving you a heads up on ERP so you would understand the similar ERP functionalities are mapped into SAP. So, okay. So SAP, the SAP is for systems, applications, and products in data warehousing or data processing. Recently, it's earlier data processing, the price is coming to data warehousing. Okay, so these are the SAP standard. There are different areas here. SAP is, we should never call it as SAP because SAP stands for acronym. So whenever you call it as a SAP, so try to make you habituated to be called as SAP. So if you see the abbreviation or acronym, it says like SAP is the one which gives you a systems, which has applications, and which also has products, which help you in data processing. That's where we can split and understand the meaning of SAP. So what are these SAP systems, applications, and products? We'll see them further. So if you consider the largest SAP as the largest ERP user base with worldwide clients in each and every industry. For example, you take example of Reebok, Excite, or you take any example in any industry, batteries, tires, MRF, you have Michelin, you have a lot of manufacturers, a lot of industries implementing SAP as their ERP partner. So that's the reason SAP has become a #1 ERP right now in the market, and it's way ahead to Oracle and other Microsoft largest ERPs. The flexibility, the technology, the various standards which SAP has, which is always far from other ERP vendors, which always makes it #1. So if you see, as I said, industry-specific implementations in SAP, we have a different customers throughout the globe, different industries. So SAP has come up with industry-specific standards. We call them as something like, for example, I'm just giving IS Oil, like Shell, British Petroleum, all these companies. They have specific domains, specific areas to be targeted. So IS Oil is the one. IS Media, for example, Bloomberg. You have CNBC, a lot of media channels, media entertainments. So they all use SAP in different ways. If you have IS retails like eBay or your Amazon, other stuff, so all these things, they also use this SAP with different industry-specific standards. So if you see later on, SAP has various business processes and solutions. So when I say business processes, you have a different departments, and they are totally certain businesses which run specifically on these processes. For example, CRM, customer relationship management. SAP has a specific module where it speaks with your customers and tries to understand whatever the areas, business processes which falls under CRM, they have grouped together and made SAP CRM. SRM, supplier relationship management. EAM, enterprise asset management. You have human resource management, which is called HR, payroll. Your payrolls, your associate paychecks, whenever you get paid. Widely popular tool in SAP. So I will give you more information on SAP HANA later on, maybe in the time permits. SAP Netweaver Mobile. If you want to have some Netweaver applications created on your mobile or iPad, you can have Netweaver Mobile and create applications. SAP has launched a server-oriented architecture, so service-oriented architecture. It's like, you create web services. That's a different advanced concept in SAP. We have ABAP as a development language. Java is development language within SAP. We have HTML also is being used in SAP as a development language. We have Visual Business, which is also for drawing reports. So these are the different various, just a snippet of SAP and different applications, different technologies being used. Any questions on this?
No, thanks.
Okay.
Actually, Shashi, just instead of discussing the outlines of all the modules and the background of ERP, things like that, can we go a little bit technical so that we just want to get a feel of whether we are able to go through your technical information?
Okay, so if you want a technical information, let me just get it right.
Because we will be continuing on Java. We will be continuing on ABAP, isn't it? Which is a completely technical area. So if we discuss all these things.
I'll tell you. If you want directly to jump into the ABAP part, it's the coding right away, a program, how it happens, how it is created. We can start doing that. But my only intention was considering you people new to SAP. If I directly jump into ABAP, without considering SAP architecture, SAP Netweaver architecture, what SAP has. So there are a lot of things which I was supposed to cover. If you wanted a coding part to be concentrated, we have Netweaver
just for the demo point of view, just so that we can, if we get a feel of whether we are able to understand.
I will be covering last 15 minutes, 20-25 minutes on the program creation, explaining you how a sample program, how we do it in ABAP. How easy
Okay.
So
Then it's okay. Then it's okay. You can continue with whatever you're doing. I thought we'll only discuss the functional discussion.
We're going to cover that. I'll just log into the server and I'll show you a program how we can create it. I'll start it from scratch so that you can understand it. I'll write it on screen and then you'll understand how easy it is to write programs here in SAP.
Okay.
There are a lot of fundamental things. This course is designed in the prospect of SAP ABAP certification. If you want to really get certified, you need to know what are the advantages, key capabilities of SAP and SAP Netweaver. So without knowing that, going into program, yes, we always can do that, but it's like a hard to try.
No, that's fine. You keep going. You keep doing what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Let me complete this quickly and just because when I started ABAP, even I was so curious to start with the Netweaver program, and that's not the way later on I understood. So it always goes through the process. So yeah, fine. So let's go into SAP Netweaver. So which is very important. It's the heart of SAP. So whenever anyone says SAP Netweaver, you think about just take up the previous example. So say for example, Kumar has a merchant apparel company. So he wanted to integrate. So what exactly SAP Netweaver does? It integrates your various systems globally present throughout your company. For example, you have some Java system which you wanted to connect to SAP, you can do it. You have some other database, legacy database. Earlier before SAP, people might be using some other database, right, to store all the records, all the data. So when they convert into SAP, they wanted to even connect that to SAP, right? So that all these connections, all these different systems getting connected, this all happens to SAP Netweaver. So it is an integrated technology where and also a computing platform where all your SAP applications will rely on. So any application you are going to learn as a part of this course, ABAP or any part, all they are going to be part of your SAP Netweaver. So you should always understand what SAP Netweaver is, what is its architecture, and what exactly it has to offer. Just a brief SAP Netweaver, it's a history and brief. So if you see SAP Netweaver is built, it's basically built using ABAP programming language. It also uses C, C++, and Java EE, the Enterprise Edition. And if you also see, it also uses open standards industry, because you need open standards. Why? Because you want to integrate various other systems, third-party systems. You can connect your Oracle apps, you can connect your Microsoft-related other tool into SAP. So when you're connecting different tools, so your standards of SAP Netweaver should be open so that anyone can just connect and use your SAP accordingly. So that's why SAP Netweaver has been built on open standards, and they have to use technology like Microsoft.NET, Java EE, and IBM WebSphere. These are the various technologies which has been used for the making open standards. So SAP announced the Netweaver way back in 2004, and they launched the 2004 version, and they prepared in 2003, but they got stabilized more on 2004. If you see the March 31st date. And later on, SAP Netweaver has been launched with various versions. Earlier it is 2004, then made it 7.0. Now the current version is 7.3, and each and every version has a different enhancement packages. So that's a SAP proprietary concept of releasing the new versions. Just like operating system updates how you receive it, SAP Netweaver also releases a lot of various versions after every release. They are called enhancement packages. So if you see the Netweaver architecture, this is the SAP Netweaver architecture. Sorry?
Hello. Yeah. I'm just wondering, like, you said integration of various things into SAP. I mean,
right.
So like the other systems use the SAP, or like SAP can?
Yes, other systems can connect to SAP. For example, I told you earlier, if you remember, we can connect SAP applications to measure the performance of your custom applications built in SAP with your load runner or QTP. So how you achieve that? Without getting connected to QTP or load runner, you cannot do that, right?
Okay.
So you have to definitely connect to the QTP via SAP, or you give your information in QTP or load runner where it can connect to SAP. So it's like a mutual handshake, right? When someone wants to connect to SAP, your SAP should allow it to get connected, and the other one should be able to be connected to your SAP. It should be compatible enough. So, you know, SAP Netweaver is a one such integration technology where it allows anyone to get connected via some of the registered protocols, okay? So it connects and yeah, so it leverages the functionality of SAP. So it's just like your example of load runner and HPQC and whatever, it can do that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to the Netweaver architecture. If you see the way down at the bottom, you see application platform. So in that application platform, as I said, we have Java and ABAP stack. So we are learning ABAP here. So whatever you do in SAP Netweaver, so your position when you learn in ABAP, your position where it exactly stays here at this bottom place, which is the core of SAP Netweaver. Any application you develop, it uses this language, and it runs on this application platform. So you have a database and OS abstraction, because it also needs to understand your operating system commands. So that's why you have a database and operating system abstraction there. So if I see there are totally 4 areas here. I mean, totally 6, but horizontally you see 4 different integrations. I mean, major 3 integrations: people integration, information integration, process integration. The name itself, it is very simple to understand. People integration is the one which involves all your users to get interacted with your SAP Netweaver. For example, a portal, a collaboration site where you have a lot of documents uploaded, a lot of users getting interacted, getting connected. So it's all related to people integration. We'll see much detail later on. Information integration, for example, into reports, you want to be SAP BI, business intelligence. Knowledge management, which speaks about MDM. All your master data has to be integrated into SAP. So, sorry, knowledge management is we have separate portals. We have separate collaboration tools. This MDM, master data management, is the one which I'm talking about, like MDM, where you have to bring all the master data into SAP. So this is an information integration into your Netweaver SAP. Another is process integration, which is very important. For example, you have some software, something like ABC software, which receives the data as XML. So if you want to send XML as the data to the third party from SAP, so you need a process integration where it is like a broker in between. It talks to your third party software, it also talks to your SAP, and it gets the data from SAP, converts it to XML, and gives you your third party. So this is called SAP PI, integration broker. So this is also another stack of Netweaver, which is very very good and very exciting. And other last but not the least, stack is application platform, where you have Java and ABAP. So you have various. If you see various SAP tools like SAP PI falls under, I think you might have heard, but SAP PI is a process integration that falls on SAP Netweaver stack. SAP BI falls in information integration. There is also something called SAP Solution Manager, which falls in people integration. Also, SAP Enterprise Portal falls in people integration. There is a lifecycle management, that is SAP Solution Manager, which falls here. What it does is, whatever the applications you develop in SAP, they have to be maintained, right? So, for example, if you have created something and people started using it, you may get some bugs, you may get some defects, you may get some issues out of it. You need to fix them. You need to release a new version of it. So all this is called lifecycle management that happens in SAP. So that is being managed by SAP Solution Manager. And you have control composite application framework, so where you have a different cross apps, as we call SAP cross apps. So we have the specific applications developed by SAP which can connect to various different third parties outside the system. So this is a brief of SAP Netweaver architecture. I know you may have a lot of questions, but you people are interested in the other side of ABAP, right? So let's go ahead. And what are the questions we have? Just keep me updated. Before we wrap up the session, I can just answer them. So coming to the ABAP. So ABAP is a German language because SAP is a German company. Earlier, ABAP was developed by Germans, so they gave a different abbreviation to it, which means a generic report preparation processor. So the intention of the ABAP earlier was to prepare reports from SAP where they can display and give it to the user for analysis. They initially started with that, and then when they made it a global, when the SAP came into the global limelight, they made the ABAP into much more easier transaction like advanced business application programming. So this is an abbreviation for SAP ABAP, which is quite known to everyone. So it was syntax basically derived from COBOL. So when the COBOL was why the COBOL was chosen? Because COBOL is a very free programming language which is very easy to learn, and so they derived syntax from COBOL, and most of the other programming languages were also derived from COBOL. Due to that reason, they used those. So, and next to the ABAP, they call ABAP as, if you see some of those areas, sometimes when you Google it or bring it, sometimes you get ABAP API 4. What does the 4 mean? It's a fourth generation language. We have various generation of languages which I don't want to touch it. It's a part of microprocessors. So it's in 1980, the 4th generation languages were developed. So ABAP is a part of 4th generation language. So ABAP was, as I said, ABAP was originally designed for developers who work on SAP platform. So ABAP is always a main programming language on SAP, in spite of having Java. Java is there, but Java is a separate stack we are not interested in. ABAP is always a primary language on SAP. So when I say R3, any guesses on R3? What exactly does it mean?
Three-tier architecture?
Yeah. So SAP relies on three-tier architecture. Earlier it was a two-tier architecture. SAP also has it, but SAP migrated itself into R3, where you have application, presentation, and database, 3 different layers. Earlier it was presentation and application and database were clubbed together, which was very much difficult for the system to run the application, store the data, and it was very much irresponsive for some of the times. So SAP converted into SAP R3 platform, so they are using ABAP as a primary language for them. And SAP current development platform, SAP Netweaver, as I discussed about last time, it has 2 development stacks. This is the one which I'm talking about. ABAP and Java here at the bottom. The same thing I'm mentioning here. Let's go into a little bit into the application server. So this is the way typically user works on. This is a standard diagram SAP released throughout the years. So many years you see still the same diagram. So you see some users, see for example me sitting on as a R3 user, and I'm working on SAP application, and then when I run that, so SAP has application server. So in application server you have presentation layer where I interact with, and when I run some application, ABAP application, so all these applications are being executed on this application server instances. And when they start executing your application, they talk to your operating system and kernel, and it connects to your database and gets the data or sends the data from application. All the two-way communication here. Send the data from application to database or get the data from database to application. All this happens here. And you also have a database here which stores the data here. So you have a DBMS on place, which is a database specific. So all this happens with your application server usage. So if you see, there are a lot of stuff here which you need to understand. Application server, we have various components here. So we have work processors, dispatchers, gateway, shared memories, ICM, database connection. All this probably we'll learn a little bit later. So this is the way work process looks like. Your work process is the one which executes your application. This is a still more brief skeletal overview of your work process to understand more. So we have screen processor, ABAP processor, DVI, all this stuff. So these are the slides explaining them in detail. So further, I think I'll just go to the programming part now, probably, which is very much exciting here. Fine. So let me go into the SAP application. So what happens is, this is our SAP GUI. This is our SAP GUI, graphical user interface for Java. So this is the one which you have to download in your Windows or Mac. Once you download, you add your server. You can add your server by clicking on this and giving your. This is in Mac, so the settings will be different. You have to give your you have to give the path here, for example, like this. And once you are done with that, it will be asked for you to enter your user ID and password. So give your. This is the login screen of SAP. It is like the same for technical or functional in SAP. Anyone has to log in like this, irrespective of them. So once you log in, SAP will go to the home screen. It's called a session manager, where it takes the user home screen. So this is a user home screen. We call also as SAP Easy Access. So this is a place where you get launched. And now you have a lot of, in SAP, as I said, the abbreviation of SAP was systems, applications, and products. So this, the one which we logged in, this is a system, right? So I'm using one system to log in. So this is a system. And what are the applications? Applications are present within the system. For example, I wanted to see some records in database. I go through this. This is a data browser. So this is one of the applications which I'm using within SAP. So I wanted to see some data, some records, so I always use this. So what exactly you are trying to understand here? If you see, there is something called here, this is called command prompt, something like where you enter all your commands. Here your commands are nothing but transaction codes. So there are two ways to go or navigate within SAP. One is using your this box, other is using your menu box. So there are two different navigations which always you can choose. As a developer, when you are starting as an ABAPer, it's always the way we learn was to remember the transactions. I mean, each transaction has a different name, and we remember the transaction name and just type in here and launch our transaction. For example, you want to create a sales order, then go here like this. This we remember, memorize, and then we create a sales order like this. Otherwise, if you don't want to do like this, then you have another way of doing it with logistics, sales and distribution, master data, and a lot of sales order. I want to create a sales order, then click on create. So it also takes the same screen. So as I said, in SAP, to access anything, you have two different ways. One is to remember the transaction code if you remember, otherwise to use the menu here. So if you see the menu here, different menus, you have, but you need to know where under what folder it is getting stored. This is SAP menu. Also, sometimes once you start getting acquainted, there are two different menus. It is SAP menu, other is when I right click on it, you have something called user menu. So when I select user menu, okay, right now no one on basis side. So whenever you, so what happens typically is basis is the one who gives you a login. When they give you a login, they also give you a user menu. Means what are the roles and what are the transactions you are authorized. Okay, so which typically means like, suppose for example, you are working at the distribution center where you are only authorized to view the sales order. You're not supposed to create a sales order, or you're not supposed to change a sales order. So which means you have specific transactions, specific roles assigned to your user. So whenever a basis gives you a login, so they give a create also user menu for you. Right now I don't have because it's like I have a super access. So in this case I have only a SAP menu here. Any questions on the menus? And any questions on the way we interact with the transactions?
How do we know the transaction code?
Yeah, so if you want to do the transaction, you have to learn them. Like for example, when I start explaining some of the transactions, for example, to create a program, to create a table, to see the records, we always have transaction codes. So when I say this transaction code, we will have some around 100 transactions or 70 transaction codes, or less than that sometimes. You need to remember them. Otherwise, if you do not remember them, as I said, you know, you have to go here like tools, ABAP workbench.
I mean, yeah, will there be any documentation about that?
Yeah, definitely we'll have, I mean, whenever we learn each and every aspect, like in our next classes, when we start creating a program, we'll have a material for that, explaining what is the transaction code which we have to use, how we have to, what are the different other transaction codes which you need to use for each and every topic we have separate. And at the end, probably we can have a glossary list of all transaction codes which we can use. I can give a glossary list of transaction codes, that all we can use.
Okay. So will there be anything in the system? Like, will there be anything in the, like in the help or something? Doesn't
help? Of course, we'll be having help. Help is always there here. I mean, maybe probably, for example, let's go into one of the transactions. You want to create a program,
like,
right?
yeah, I'm just wondering. I mean, the transaction code that should be somewhere in the system, isn't it? So that SAP knows.
Actually,
okay, this transaction.
Okay, right. So in terms of documentation, SAP have a standard documentation created for each and every transaction. If that is not sufficient, probably we can go to the help portal, help.sap.com, or I'll just show that one. Sorry, one example. So let's go into C38. This is the place where we create a program here. Okay, we can create a program, we can change, and we can display here. Okay, so if you want to know the help here, you have a help application help here. Or else, if I don't go inside this, in the first home screen itself, you will have a menu called help, application help, or a glossary. You can go either of this. If you go on a search. ABAP underscore docu underscore show. This is one of the transaction. Select. It's trying to display the grade intended. Or other ways, like, you know, actually that should work. I don't know, it's not coming on my screen. Let's see this. This is one of the program. I just created it. I'll just show again once how to create that. For example, if you want to know about this, just place a cursor on this report keyword and press F1. This is like a documentation what I'm talking about. So it's opening a new window. Just a minute. Yeah. So this is a document, ABAP keyword documentation. So this is the same transaction. If you see the transaction what I typed in ABAP DocuShow here at the bottom of my screen, can you see that? So similarly, if you want to search anything, when you run the transaction ABAP DocuShow, this should open up, and here you can write anything, like if you want to know about select statement, search, it searches for you what you wanted to search, like select ABAP statement, go here. So these are the internal documentation which SAP has given on each and every aspect of ABAP. Okay. In terms of transaction code, when you are talking about, you have very limited documentation in the transaction code. For example, as I said, this is not installed at this point. When I say this application help, when I click on this application help, what it does is, for ABAP editor, whatever the application help is there, it should be picked up. Okay. So that is not installed as a part of a basis installation on this, so you will not get that. But any other documentation, yeah, you can always get it from RS ABAP or the transaction SAP. As I said, the transaction for that was ABAP DocuShow. You can run this and run through your documentation here. Does that answer your question, or am I different?
No, actually, like what I'm asking is that you said like the transaction codes we have to memorize. I'm just wondering, like in the SAP system, it should have those list of transaction codes somewhere, so that once we enter it.
You want the transaction codes stored in database, or you want the transaction codes to be seen in SAP?
To be seen in SAP. Can we see them, or I'm not sure?
Okay. So the transactions are always there in this. Okay. If you want to really remember them, okay, I can do that for you once. Technical details. Okay.
Okay. So the basis team will give us, isn't it? Like the list.
Yeah. So what I'm telling you is, first thing is you need to remember your transaction codes. If you don't know the transaction codes, there is no central place for you. As I said, there will be user menu, right? If you remember, I told you there will be user menu for you. Once the user menu is created, okay. So what happens is, all your transactions will be listed on your name here at the bottom. Here you see only folders. When a user menu is created, your user menu and the transactions, all the transactions you can see. Next time when we log in, I will tell you how to create a user menu. It will be there. We will never create any user menus. It's a basis part, so we never intervene into that activity. So now if you see tools, ABAP workbench, development, you see transaction codes here?
Oh yeah, okay.
These are all transaction codes.
Okay, so that's how we fix it. Okay.
Okay. I did this setting enable, otherwise it will not show. In the setting.
Oh, okay.
The
setting.
So I turned off the technical names here. So what happens is, when we expand this tools, workbench, development, you don't see here anything. You just see the shortcut. When I click on this, it will go there. That's it. But it will never show the transaction code which you need to remember.
Okay.
So always the major emphasis should be always there to remember your basic transaction codes. The rest transaction codes which are a little vaguely used or not at all majorly used, maybe you can have it navigated from the folders. Okay. So let's start with a small program. So how to create a program? Just let me delete this program first. So here what I'm doing is I'm trying to create a program here. The CL is called demo 1. Let's say hello ABAP. So this is our first program we are creating. So you give your program name here. So to begin with, once again I'm starting it, you have to navigate by transaction code or by folder. So to create a program, the transaction code is SE38. Just type in that and hit enter. It will take you to the screen. And then you need to give your program name, what you wanted to create or display or change. So I'm trying to create a program here. There are a lot of buttons here which don't look at it at this point. We'll look at later. So let's go into this create part. Whenever I try to create a program, it pops up me a window asking to give a title to it. I'll say hello ABAP. It's my title. There are different types of programs here in SAP which we need to understand. There are different programs like executable, include, module, which will come through as a part of our course. As a time being, let's say executable program. This means you can directly execute this program. Just like when you write a Java, you can directly compile your Java program. Similarly, this program can be immediately executed. These are all optional. Whatever the other following right now, this is a mandatory one. If I don't give this and try to save it, it asks me to prompt me a value. So this is always a mandate. So I need to give this, and the rest are all optional. If I don't give this, it can be saved. But I just open the drop-down. Status tells you what type of program you are preparing. I'm preparing a test program, right? So I just say a test program. If you are in some industry, if you are working for some company or some client, then you always create a customer production program. This is used by SAP developers who create SAP programs. They use this. So this is a program which interacts with your operating system, which talks more about system calls. They use this. So ours is this program. As I said, SAP has different applications. You see there are various applications in different areas. I will say sales here at this point. My program is targeting sales area. And I said these are all optional. There is nothing a requirement that you need to give this. And authorization group, it says like who is eligible for this program to execute, who are others not allowed to execute. So this is a basis concept again. I'll tell you in detail as a part of our course. Logical database, this is one of the most old concepts of SAP ABAP. This is also discussed as a part of curriculum, which I don't want to get much deeper into it. Selection screen. For example, when you run any application, you will have a selection screen, right? For example, you want to draw list, get list of sales done on particular user. Then what you do is you create a selection screen, right? User will give date, so-and-so date from what, for which date you want to get the data. So that's a selection screen design. That also we'll see as a part of our programming standards. So once you set up all these attributes, just click on save the data. Sorry. So it tries to save the data. It asks you for a package. So package concept is SAP package concept. So you have, this is like a bundling your programs together based on your project or based on your application area. For example, Kumar is working on one project, Jishnu is working on another project. So both projects are different. So when the project started, so what they do is they create one project folder for one package for Jishnu, one package for Kumar. So whatever they do, they all create in this package. So the usage of this package is when the application goes live to production, when everything is developed and tested, when you launch into production, so you move this entire package all together. So it's like bundling all your programs, tables, all your other small minute elements used in your entire project. So you can create one package here if you want it. Otherwise, you can always choose to save in local object. It's a temporary space where it will be saved. And this, whenever you save it in local object, they can never be transported to production. Okay. So if you are creating one test program here in local object, and that cannot be transported to production. If you always wanted to transfer to another system of SAP, you should always give a package. Okay, we'll discuss this as a part of our course when we discuss about how to create a package, what is the usage of a package. So let's save it as a local object. Okay, so now the program is created. So let me do some small settings here to understand better. So in the utilities settings, so what I do here is okay. So what I'm doing here is we have a pattern which aligns your code properly. Okay. So when I do Pretty Printer, Pretty Printer. When you click on Pretty Printer, what it does is it aligns your code. Now you can see there's a transformation happen here. You see a message called Pretty Print Complete. This says this is still in caps. This is in small. What does that mean is whatever the capitals one are there right now, they're all keywords. Every programming language, you will have some list of keywords which you will always have to remember, and there is no way in SAP where you can look at it as just like a transaction code. Okay, so these are the keywords. Report is a keyword, and similarly you have another keyword called tables. Okay, I'll not explain this. I'm writing everything in gaps. I'm doing a pretty print here. You see the change. Keyword name is wrong. So whenever the keyword name, if you misspell it, it becomes like that. So again, I do a pretty print here. You see it turn into caps. The reason behind that was I made a setting like, it's very easy for beginners to understand. In utilities settings, go to pretty printer, and I say convert uppercase or lowercase. All my keywords should be in uppercase. So which makes me understand, okay, by looking at the program, I can say when I'm newly learning this, okay, these are all my keywords. So I should know all these keywords, what they mean. Okay, so that's the way it's more simplified. And when you create a program, you have a save button here. Whenever you wanted to save, you can always save that program like this, and you see a success message, program, the class ABAP saved. Fine. So let's start some of the things. Like, let's make one selection screen very simple, and we'll list the same data again here. For example, I'm saying parameters, that is a keyword which we'll learn. My intention of this program is I'll just create one input field on the selection screen where you can type your name or whatever the text you want. And once you type it and once you execute it, the same name I'm displaying as a report list. So I will say user type char 10. I'm accepting 10 characters here, and do a pretty print. You see the change here. The parameter is a keyword, type is a keyword, right? So now there are other events. The very simple way of displaying the output is whatever the data you have given, you have to give like this. Okay, so before we execute this, I'll also give you a small overview on the modularization of your program. Your program is by default modularized into various events. You have a report events. So one of the such event is startup selection. What it does is, once you give your selections, okay, on your report, whatever the logic you write here up from this bottom, whatever the logic you write here, so for example, another write statement, test, all these things get executed. Okay, all these things get executed once you click execute on your program. I'll show that exactly what happens. Let me activate this program. This is the activate button. You see something like a burning stick. This is the activate button. Here it's a two-step process. Once you create a program, whatever your changes you do, you save it here. Okay, when I save it, you see the status getting changed to inactive, and then activate like this. This is one step. So this is a two-step process. Otherwise, now I made some changes. If you want to directly activate without saving, you can do that even. It's like activate and save at one step. When I do this, system by default activates my program. There is no need to save. You always have two options. Some people have a habit first to save and then activate. If you have a habit of directly activating it, yes, you are always going to go ahead and directly activate it. Okay, so either two step or one step, it's your choice. Now, let's execute this. You see a button here beside this. This is the execute button. If you want to execute your program, this is the way you have to do it. Click on this. Say SAP execute. So you see the report output. So now what happened is, I'll tell you now. When I clicked on this button, based on this is my selection screen design. Okay, so based on this my selection screen design, a selection screen got generated. I'm doing it again. You see a selection screen getting designed here, right? It has a username to enter. It has another button called execute. Okay, this I haven't created. It's SAP by default gives for these kind of programs. If you remember earlier when I was creating a program,
you had in the attributes executable program. Because of that executable program, when I try to test this program like this, you see this icon here. For other type of programs, you don't see at all and you cannot execute them. That we will discuss later. If you remember, I haven't coded anything for this here. I only written code for this particular username. Okay. So now what it does is, this startup selection, what is the importance of it is, once I give my username type as SAP and click on this execute button, this button, what happens is this code gets executed. So what is the importance of startup selection? The startup selection is an event in the program which tells your program that after your selection screen inputs, whatever the selection screen inputs are done, and then when you click on the execute button, your startup selection event gets triggered. So when it gets triggered, so whatever the statements you write below that event, all of them get executed. So what are the two different statements written here? So we are writing the user, whatever we enter, and we are writing the test as a hard-coded test. Okay, so it's like a static word. I'm writing it. So anything you can do like this. Okay, so this is a very small, just to have a feel of it. I don't want to get much into the tables, getting data from tables, displaying a report, which is like a little like early at the part of demo. I mean, I don't want to rush the things on that. So like this, you have a lot of events. Okay, I'm just telling you, this is one of the events in report. We have a lot of events, like we'll learn as a part of programming, like load of program. Okay, I'm just writing them to make you aware. Add selection screen. Okay, so you have initialization like this. We have a lot of events which you need to understand. So when we go into our original classes, we'll have a diagram, flow diagram, which will have all the events. So whenever I start program, so what are all the events? First event, second event, third event, fourth event, all the flow chart will be having it. So we'll learn more about these events, which are very important for reports. So this is the way you execute, and this is the way you just type some data and then okay, so any more questions? I can share that slide deck to Sravanthi, whatever I have today. Probably you can just go through later on if you want it, or maybe once we start our classes, probably you can just discuss more and about the slides and understand it much more better.
Okay.
So the other way to execute a program. So another question is that you always no need to get into this editor. You always can go into the, you can always go into the SC38, for example, SC38, and give your program name, and you have an execute button here. Can you see that? Just click this, and you can give SAP, and click this. That's it. So it is not required that you need to get into this editor here, into this editor, and then click on this button. Not required. When you are within the program and making the changes, it's always easy to use this button rather going back. That's the reason they have given another extra button inside. Otherwise, you give the program name and click on execute, and then it executes and displays your selection screen and give your data, and then again execute the application. It gives you the output. So basically, the program is categorized into two parts. Sorry. Okay. I think I switched on my iTunes.
Okay.
Sorry. So there are two parts of our program. It's input and output. So this is my input screen and this is my output. I have a shortcut here, so sorry for that. So this is how it gets displayed. So any questions on the slide deck or any questions on the programming part? I know there are a lot of questions on transaction codes. What are the transaction codes? How do we use them? Other stuff. So it's like, a lot of cores in to get interacted with that. Any questions, Jishnu and Kumar, from your end?
So how many hours it takes at the class?
I have scheduled for 45 hours, which is very much important, yeah, because if you wanted to really understand, I mean, I don't want to cookbook the ABAP and make it 30 hours or something like that, because it will be very difficult. I mean, once you learn this course, you should be able to individually program. So that's my intention. So if you cannot do that, then there is no meaning to it. I don't want to run more PowerPoints later on from next time onwards. Probably I will have 5-6 slides of topics what we are going to discuss, and then more it onto the system. So that makes you more aware of the process, what we're doing. We have a lot of examples. We can create a lot of examples. We can have some assignments. I can give you some assignments to do for you. Probably next day we can review them after our class.
Like, I mean, I'm just still like I'm a beginner. Just want to know, like, so you work in a functional mode. I mean to say, like, you work.
I'm a techno-functional.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a techno-functional. I'm a SAP Netweaver consultant. So I'm a Netweaver consultant. Okay. Yeah. So when I'm a SAP Netweaver consultant, I'm applicable to all these areas. Whatever you see on the screen. So I am on BI, I'm on PI, I'm on ABAP, I also know Java, so I also know Solution Manager, Portal.
No, I'm just wondering, like, okay, I mean, for example, I learn ABAP, then I will be working on a particular module, isn't it? Like,
right. So yes, so definitely it depends on the project. The project, what modules you work for, okay? So it all depends again. So are you working for a different? I'm just stopping my screen share.
Okay.
So what happens is that there will be different projects running different areas. For example, I said, right, if your project is only on logistics area, then you work more on logistics. If you work on the manufacturing area, so you will work on.
So I mean, yeah, for example, recently they brought in the CRM in our organization, SAP CRM, like they're still developing a product, I mean, for an application.
Okay.
So I'm wondering,
SAP
like,
CRM, yeah, SAP CRM also is a part of different industries, business processes, one of the business processes which we'll be using. But again, to do your SAP CRM, you need to know what is ABAP, how to do programs in ABAP. But always starts for any effort. See, what happens is you should know the syntax and the way how to write your programs. Once you know these basics, whatever the areas you wanted to go for, like logistics or finance or whatever the areas, it's always easy to get in. Okay, what exactly differentiates between these things is the way the processes are getting implemented. In finance, there are different tables, different transactions. In SD, sales and distribution, you have different tables, different transactions. So as long as you know how to write a program, there is no problem in getting in touch with different areas. Okay, so ABAP is like a more generic part. You need to know how to write a program, what is the table, how to create a table, all this part. And once you get everything on this, so and also when we are learning, probably we'll start creating or using some functional area like sales area, say SD. We use SD, try to use SD, try to extract data from sales and display as a report. Or sometimes we use some examples on material management, another logistics area. So when we learn, probably rather using some demo, some dumb classes, we use some real-time classes or real-time tables, and then let's go into that. And also ABAP has object-oriented part even, which is more in real world now. So there are a lot of things in SAP. So it's like, it's huge in technical area. So no one is perfect in that. So even after me having 9 years, I don't think I am perfect in all the areas. There are a lot of different new areas. Every day they come up some with different technology strategies and everything. So to begin with anything in a technical area, you need to go with ABAP. So basic ABAP, you need to understand everything. And then you can launch yourself into different areas, web intro ABAP, object-oriented ABAP, other areas, workflows, HRs, different areas. Maybe you can start like that. Any more questions?
Kumar?
No, thanks, Shishan.
Okay. Okay, so it's like 1 hour. I just prepared on not many slides. Probably I'm not sure whether I have met up your expectations, but still yeah, we can just keep on interacting as a part of our course, and then probably we can understand more about our ongoing assignments agenda. Let's we'll make it more interactive from the next session. Let's see what best we can do out of it. I think that's all from my end. If you have any questions or any points to improve, probably always happy to accept.
Yeah, thanks, Cheshita.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vishnu. Thanks, Kumar.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sravanthi, if you're on the call. I don't know. So, thanks, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks
Bye.
for giving the demo.